Hello, and welcome once again. J76NY here, playing Suzerain from Torpor Games. This is the douchebag playthrough, and we are up to, I think, episode number 20-something. Whatever. Let's get right into today's activities here. We've got the briefing on the Marcel Koronti investigation. We're going to find out how Mr. Koronti did after we tipped him off, so here we go. I was walking down the corridor towards my office on the way back from lunch. Right next to the door, Lilius, Nia, and Carl were waiting. They approached me. Mr. President, there's been an important update on the Koronti investigation. We entered the office. An informant from HOS contacted us. He was identified as a low-level executive. Go on. Carl stepped forward and bowed. We have interrogated him thoroughly and confirmed the information he gave us. We now have proof that a subsidiary of HOS Conrath Holdings is a shell corporation engaged in money laundering for the Koranelli Cartel. Uh-oh. It's like our buddy Koronti is actually up to no good. Over the past 3 years, approximately 15 million Sordish rent from the Koranelli's drug and weapons smuggling activities have gone through this corporation with Marcel Koronti's implicit approval. Yeah, what's the plan? I got no problem turning on Marcel. As long as we don't get revealed as, the mole on the inside of the Sordish government. The mole at the top. Time has come. Frankly, we have been preparing for this possibility. Except for, we weren't preparing for that sneeze, so, sorry. Oh, hang on. Alright. Cottonwood is in the air for sure. Please follow us to the comms room. Nia gestured towards the door, and I followed the two women down the hall. We descended the spiral staircase at the very edge of the palace, close to where my office was located. Going through narrow corridors, then upstairs, we came in front of a large door with a shield and a goat carved on it. Nia opened the door, and we entered. After taking our seat, she gave me a sheepish look. Mr. President, I said we have been preparing for this opportunity, but that might have been an understatement. Our attack teams are ready to go. They've surrounded Mr. Koronti's villa in Estord. Oh boy. God. Talk about taking the initiative. He nodded at Carl. Carl leaned forward and spoke into the microphone. Begin. We sat there for a few minutes, waiting anxiously. Finally, Carl received a radio transmission. Mr. Koronti has been successfully captured. There will be consequences for this. Of course, and our administration will successfully handle it, I am sure. Now that he's been arrested, Sordland will have one less traitor. We will learn the truth from him directly. Uh-oh. All of his contacts, everyone he has been dealing with. I want to especially confirm the rumor about his contact in the administration. We will squeeze every single drop of information we can out of him. One way or another. Uh-oh. I'll just nod. Nervously nod. The news ought to break any moment now. Wow, that was fast. This was all for today, Mr. President. We will keep you posted. Thank you for your time. They left one by one, and I made my way back to my office. Sweat trickling down the small of my back. This could be the end of my presidency. If Marcel talked, everything could end. There must be a way out of this. Oh boy. Shit's getting deep. Been deep for a while, but... So what's the... That must be it. That, Alright, let's see what we have to attend to next. We've got... Koronti Links to Koranelli Cartel confirmed. Joint investigation into Marcel Koronti by the Ministry of Justice and Interior have confirmed that Marcel Koronti's corporation, Heart of Sordland, has been laundering money for the Koranelli Cartel. And he's now in Antel Rock Prison with Walter Tusk and Cesaro Keebner. I think that's his name. No. The head of the opposition down there, who's irrelevant now. Urgent meeting on potential alliances. Okay. I was sitting right across from David in the White Room after he scheduled an urgent meeting. I knew that the matter must have been serious. He insisted on waiting for Joseph and Lucian, so we did. Lucian entered the room with Joseph by his side. Mr. President, we came as fast as we could. President, Mr. Wissy? What's going on? David cleared his throat. Welcome, everybody. Due to the potential ramifications, I wanted everyone to be present for this meeting. We've received an envoy from Arcasia. They are requesting a state visit. Judging from the current climate, it's not hard to see what this is all about. ATO is always trying to expand its influence after all. They will most likely try to convince us to join. In addition, as part of the state visit, Dwight Walker will, of course, meet with you in person, Mr. President. As much as I share their ideals, we need to be wary. Not really sure we share their ideals. There's a lot we could gain from this visit. With all due respect, are you out of your mind? Mr. Lancia. Well, let him go on. Hear what he has to say. This is madness. We cannot even consider accepting this. I bet he will come asking for our cooperation under the guise of enforcing their demands to join the ATO. This will antagonize half of the world against us, and we are going to be at the forefront of the battle. If you are approaching this from a perspective of national defense, then don't. We are in better shape than we ever were before. I assure you, we don't need any help outside. Outside help. Definitely not from Dwight Walker. We will make do somehow. Hang on a second. I want to see something here. Well. See what he wants first. I'll decide when I talk to him. Need to be careful. Mr. Walker never gives anything for free. There will be some concessions for sure. Mr. Wissy, you are our most experienced foreign policy expert. What's your take on all this? What do you think the right action? Rumberg is bound to increase diplomatic pressure in the upcoming AN meeting. Back channels are reporting rumors about Queen Beatrice Livingston meeting with military leaders in Thornburg. I'm afraid it might not be possible to stand against Rumberg without strong allies. Soon we will have to take a side in this global rivalry to avert a potential conflict with Rumberg. We're not really doing a very good job of averting it, regardless of what happens in this meeting. And I recently found out a planned meeting between the Queen and Chairman Malinev of United Cantana. The ATO and President Walker might be the necessary evil to stop worse things from happening. I say we should consider this offer very seriously. What do you think, Lucian? We heard our experts. You're the one who has to decide. Well, thanks. Yet. I could either side with Joseph or David. Personally, I am inclined to go with Mr. Lancia here. Lest we end up with a base on our territory. Yes, I have played this game before. Link to that playlist will be at the end of this episode. I do not want to involve ourselves with superpowers. Tell them to go fuck themselves. No friends but swords. Steam achievement unlocked. It's racking them up in this playthrough. Damn, it pays to be a dick. I will send our response immediately. Sordland stands alone in the world. I think that's all for today. Thank you for all attending. As we dispersed, the world map hanging on the wall in the room caught my attention. I walked over to it. How often were the lines on the world map redrawn over the recent decades? What about the future? I guess we're about to find out, right? Anything to attend to except this? Late night at the Rayne household. Oh boy, this will be fun. It was late at night when I exited Serge's car, walked through the gates of the presidential complex, and unlocked my front door. Monica and I weren't speaking much at all these days. I'd been spending more and more time in the office just to avoid the chilly atmosphere that had awaited me at home. The lights in the kitchen were still on. I walked in to find Monica sitting alone at the table, pouring the dregs of a bottle of Kebi into her glass. Well, if it isn't the savior of Swordish women, our knight in shining armor. At your service, ma'am. I was being sarcastic, Anton. So was I, Monica. Ira called and told me what happened with her woman's rights bill, because she knew I'd want to know. This would never have happened if you'd supported her. No. Just too risky. Ladies were asking for too much too quickly. That's bullshit. Go, Monica. And she hiccups. Barfs all over the kitchen counter. This was my big chance. The one thing I'd wanted to do since before I even met you, Anton. And you ruined it. Oh, Lord. You're a first lady, not a politician. You knew that going in. Other women would kill to be married to the president of Sordland. Can't you just shut up and be satisfied? Yeah. All I wanted to do was protect you. Nope. Shut up and be satisfied. You really don't know me, do you? And she sighed deeply. I don't think I can do this anymore. I'm calling Evelyn's divorce attorney. Oh boy. You can't divorce me, at least not until next year. That's what you care about, your chances of getting reelected? I'd pay you to stay? Yeah, all right. Bribery, you're going to treat me like one of your crooked politician pals? Yep. You're the one that said you wanted to be involved in politics. I will not let you insult me like this. She pushed her chair roughly away. I'm calling the lawyer tomorrow. We can wait a few weeks to tell Deanna. You think you're going to keep custody of her, you're goddamn mistaken. I'm going to make sure you wind up with nothing. I'm definitely not going to respect her wishes. I'd rather be penniless than spend another moment married to you. Pick up her glass and smash it on the ground. There we go. Right away, I heard the sound of footsteps running towards the kitchen. Deanna burst in and threw herself between me and Monica. Papa, don't hurt her, please. Deanna, pack a bag. We're staying at a hotel tonight. I don't think they could do that. But this is Sordland, after all. With one last furious look at me, Monica ushered Deanna upstairs. I'd lost both of them, possibly forever. I sighed, grabbed a broom, and started sweeping up the broken glass on the floor. All things must come to an end. Achievement unlocked. I get an achievement for getting divorced. I guess Valve and company are a bunch of sadists. Sickos. Okay, well, there's that. A lot to attend to now. Let's read the newspaper. Keebner condemned BFF terror. In a televised address, Kizaru Keebner, I guess he isn't the guy we put in jail, condemned the BFF attacks and called the country to be vigilant. The Blued separatists are doing everything in their power to destroy this great nation through their Blued terror. The region of Burjo, where they gathered their support, is the root of the problem. We can't let the Blued militants kill our innocent people anymore. We must march to where they hide, said Keebner in his address. Many have criticized Keebner and called the speech very dangerous for Swordish unity. Sordland's largest military parade ever. President Rayne has announced Sordland's largest military parade ever to display the strength of Swordish armed forces to the world. During the glorious days, tanks will roll, jets will fly, and our soldiers will march. Young and old Swordish citizens will come together to once again cheer for our soldiers. The parade will send a clear message to our enemies. Beware. President Rayne will be joining the parade with a motorcade and a drive through Victory Avenue. All right. Sordland shoots down Rumberg warplane in retaliation. You guys are a little behind the times here. Following Rumberg's demands for reparations from Sordland, the tensions have increased dramatically between the two countries. Yesterday, a Swordish warplane has been shot by the Rumberg anti-air systems, and all the pilots on board have been killed. As per the information from Rumberg, Swordish warplane has trespassed into Rumbergian airspace, where Swordish military reports that the plane was inside Swordish borders when it was shot. The international community is unclear of the certainty of the reports from both sides. Immediately after the incident, Sordland retaliated by sending their warplanes into the Rumbergian airspace and destroying a Rumbergian jet. The tensions between Rumberg and Sordland continue to increase as the largest troop deployments in the last decade began in eastern Merkopa. Oh. All right. Rumbergian plane shot. Iosef Lancia reports that a Rumbergian warplane was shot down. We just learned about that in the news. I should have done this first. One-on-one interview from Kroot. Lucian Galad organized an interview for the presidency on the internationally renowned One-on-One. The famous journalist Thomas Sacker will be asking the questions. Crew of One-on-One and Thomas Sacker will arrive next week in Lock Haven from Kroot. Okay. Vogslandian Navy spotted in full force in Helgeland. According to the intelligence reports, Vogslandian Navy gathered in full force around Helgeland, blockading the island. The reports warn about a possible violent conflict between Agnolia and Vogslandian forces. Swordish Navy in Conria is on standby. Okay. Thought we had more. It's not. Rayne 57 campaign advertisement. The election campaign would benefit from an ad boost. Let's see. The election of 1957 is approaching fast, and a massive election campaign effort is taking shape. Public campaign funds available to the party are covering most of the costs, but we could put our own funds to increase the chance of victory. Different scale advertising campaign for the Rayne 57 bid can be enacted. Small scale ad campaign. -2 wealth. I think it's worth it. So we'll do that. Personal wealth has been decreased. All right. Election speech at the USP headquarters. Sun was starting to peek through the blinds of my suite in the Grand Chariot Hotel in Enrica. I hadn't slept at all last night. I was too busy thinking about how I could rally my party's conservative base at today's election kickoff. I was just pulling on my clothes when two soft, sharp knocks came at the door. Lucian. Good morning, sir. Hope you brought coffee. Lucian unclasped his briefcase and took out a small dish-shaped device. After scanning the room with it, he gave a satisfied nod. About your investigation into the oligarchs. As you know, Marcel Koronti is currently out of the picture. But there's been a very interesting update regarding Mr. Tusk. Pulled out a folder and opened it. Secret State Police have looked further into Walter Tusk's foreign ties and found some very unsettling information. One of his corporation's subsidiaries is directly involved in smuggling and selling Rumbergian Ka-74s within Sordland. Prison's too good for him? Or what can we do? He's already in jail. You didn't hear this from me, sir, but accidents happen in prison all the time. Gang wars, cafeteria scuffles. You get the idea. Lucian, you devil, you! He's gonna get shanked, right? Is that what you're saying, Lucian? Shank the bastard. No, that'd attract too much suspicion. It'd certainly be unfortunate if Tusk were to be the victim of such an accident. Unfortunate yet unavoidable. No. I'll make some phone calls. Lucian, I knew you had it in you. Just tell, look at that goatee. Now that's settled, I'll prepare you for your rally. I almost forgot, the Archpriest of Dyer couldn't be present today, but I wanted to relay a message of support to you and your family. Well, I have no family. Let's hope he doesn't find out about that until after the election. Right? Alright. A few hours later, I was waiting in the wings at the North Sword Auditorium in Enrica. The audience were several thousand of my conservative supporters. I was wearing an FC Enrica scarf to please the locals, and reminded them that I was still part owner of the team. Behind the podium hung a Swordish flag and a giant banner that read, Rain Train. Your land, my land, Sordland. Enrica Mayor Curtin Lesty gave a short introductory speech. I couldn't look at him without thinking about how I'd let Monica down. I stepped behind the podium and took a deep breath. Brothers and sisters of the USP, past 3.5 years have seen our country tested again and again. Past 3.5 years have been the hardest of my life. Over the past 3.5 years, many enemies have tried to destroy me and this fine country. Yet I stand before you now, ready to pledge myself to God and Sordland yet again. Yet Sordland has prevailed. Under my administration, we are stronger than ever. Yet the Rayne administration stands strong, ready to lead Sordland to greatness once more. Hey, look at our economy. Up to 4. Wow. Neat. We'll go with this one. With my re-election, I will finish pulling Sordland's economy from the depths of recession. I've begun to fix the disastrous economic decisions of my predecessor. Together we will get the economic crisis under control. Go with this one. When armed militants threatened to tear us apart, I upheld law and order. When violent rebels threatened to tear us apart, I restored harmony. Not really. We'll go with this one. I will continue to fight for the constitutional reforms Sordland deserves, that I put the nix on. I will continue to uphold Tarkin Sol's constitution until Sordland is ready for reform. I will continue my fight against the enemies of Sordland, both internal and external. And I will continue to root out corruption and wrongdoing, even within the institutions we hold dear. I remain committed to stamping out the corruption that has plagued Swordish Corporation for far too long. With that one. For too long, crooked businessmen were able to buy and sell Swordish politicians. These are over. Now that everyone wants to buy and sell me as in prison or dead, I guess I've purged Sordland of its wealthy elite so that the masses have a chance to thrive. Maybe we could redirect away from us. Thunderous applause erupted. Sordland has changed, but the USP remains as strong as ever. Some have accused me of straying from the values of the USP. To them, I say, I am the USP. Yes. There has been tremendous progress made in this term and more to come. I promise you there is no way we can lose. I've devoted an unprecedented amount of effort towards making Sordland's economy the best in the world. We will not lose. This one. I and Vice President Vectorn shall lead Sordland into a bright new era. I and Vice President Vectorn shall not back down until we finish what we started. A roar shook the hall. Just the fact that Peter Vectorn is still my vice president goes a long way in terms of the difference between my first playthrough, which we'll link in the end credits of this video. We will form a broad coalition of supporters to make sure morning finally comes. It is time, my fellow swords. A new dawn is upon us and is beginning right here, right now. I like it. So remember, vote Rayne 57, A Morgana West Core. It's time to get back on board the Rayne train. There we go. Rayne train. I knew it was going to come. The audience roared as streamers shot out of cannons behind me. Tooth to tooth, eye to eye, FC and Rika. Step down from the podium. Fantastic. We have here education. Holy shit, look at the economy. What just happened? Production increased and planned economy. New production-focused investment has invigorated growth and caused a ripple effect in an increasingly out... Oh, look at that. Look at our economy. It's in the green. I have never thought I was going to see that. I was sure we were going to tank this shit. Well, now, imagine that. Let's do all this first and then read the news. This has got to be the main thing here. Report from Wholesword and a briefing on the current economic situation. Mountain Mandos destroy BFF base. Dordish mountain commandos have begun sweeping operations along the Suzerain mountain range under harsh weather conditions in order to find the guerrilla base of the BFF. The operation, led by one of the most experienced mountaineer officers, has resulted in great success after 2 large bases were destroyed following a massive gunfight. Meanwhile, the BFF launched a counterattack with vehicles towards Suzerain, but were engaged by a defensive armored column. It sounds like we're in a full-blown civil war here. And we're winning. Estimated that the BFF lost 1,432 soldiers in a 2-week-long fight. Assault unit destroys BFF cells. I'm liking this. Kind of puts the whole divorce thing into the whatever category. Dozen hidden Blutish Freedom Front cells were destroyed by infantry assault units specifically equipped for difficult offensive operations. And 1,000 soldiers participated in the 4-day-long operation after suffering losses in many ambushes on the way to the hilly position of the enemy. The military succeeded thanks to accurate artillery support and aerial recon. The enemy mine placement delayed military operation for the significant time, but were overcome with engineers. The BFF fought hard and long, but eventually succumbed to the superior equipment and numbers of the military. It also gathered help from local civilian populace to accurately find the hidden cells. At the end of the operation, 34 soldiers lost their lives and the 8 BFF outposts were destroyed, along with 219 enemy combatants. Good news. Young Swords. Young Swords help police keep peace. The extended and exhausted police units trying to uphold safety and order in the streets are being helped by 1,000 Young Swords supporters who are giving intelligence to the police units. With a massive information network in civilian disguise, the Young Swords have become instrumental in keeping the massive riots in Dire in check. Good job, Young Swords. The leader of the Young Swords declared that anyone vandalizing and rioting against the state is an enemy of the nation. He pledged total order. Yeah. After accurate military intelligence reports on several suspected BFF outposts around the city of Dire, the Swordish Air Force began operational planning to destroy them. 20 bombers departed from Erloy and bombed 3 different BFF outposts, resulting in a massive destruction of the enemy military capacity to conduct operations inside and outside of Dire. In the after-action report, the military counted 8 anti-air guns, several tons of guns and ammunition destroyed, and 394 BFF killed. The Air Force conducted aerial recon missions and spotted the BFF retreating towards the mountains. A helicopter squadron was dispatched and eliminated the retreating forces. We are in a full-blown Swordish civil war. And we are winning. And I'm wondering where they get anti-aircraft guns. And why they have them. Got here. Young Swords force protesters out. Young Sword members have marched against the protesters in Whole Sword and intimidated thousands through the beatings and acts of violence. The effort alleviated the pressure on the police units, which are already extended. Even though the Young Sword members are acting harshly, they have yet to turn their behavior on our forces. A massive Young Sword march with torches has attracted 12,000 people, followed by a massive clash in which the group has attacked a 5,000 rioter group headed for the palace. Wow. Some Young Swords are camping at the Hill of Pride and waving Swordish flags. Young Swords drive MFP recruitment. In Gelsword, a sizable gathering of Young Sword members were seen today, organizing a recruiting rally for NFP. Wait. Hold up. Hold up. What are they doing with the NFP? Despite the USP majority of the city, they seem to have laid the groundwork as a surprising amount of people were interested in attending. We interviewed a few passing citizens on what they think, and we heard conflicting answers. A tea house owner attending the rally said Kizaru Keebner is going to win. Mark my words. They know it's pointless, but they are still doing it. That's crazy, if you ask me. Despite the general populace, what the general populace thinks, the mood was merry as the support for NFP grows in the city. As the 1957 campaign closed in, Anton Rayne started his campaign. Posters and leaflets were distributed across every major city. The campaign is estimated to cost millions of Swordish Ren. Stocks plunge as Tusk found dead in cell. The hell with the stocks. Our economy's booming now. Stock market reeled today from news that Walter Tusk, having been imprisoned for allegedly provoking President Anton Rayne, was found dead in his cell. The exact circumstances of his death have not yet been revealed, but taken together with the dubious circumstances of his original imprisonment, it does seem as if someone was out to get the former Lothburg spokesman. The tumbling stock market is an indicator of just how much influence Tusk still wielded in the business community, even after the nationalization of his company. I am concerned. That concerns me. It really does. Well, continuing. Current economic situation. I arrived at the Ministry of Economy and proceeded upstairs. An assistant waiting by the door to the meeting room took my jacket. I opened the door and entered the largest boardroom in the building. Simon was sitting alone with a glass of water and his documents laid out before him. He stood up when I entered and approached me. After a quick handshake, I took a seat. Good afternoon, Mr. President. How's it going? I'm pretty swamped with work, barely getting any time with the family. The glee in his voice was barely disguised. Knock was heard on the door and Peter entered the room. I hope I'm not late. Did you start yet? No, not yet. Now that everyone's here, let's begin. As you all know, we're here to review the economic progress we've made over the past term and decide how to proceed. I will brief you quickly on what we have done so far, just as a refresher. Can't see this, but I'm doing the circle thing with my hand, like, come on, come on, come on. He gathered the documents in a pile in front of him and adjusted his glasses. From the pile, he produced 2 booklets and handed them to us. Our extra focus on the economy has resulted in some small-scale positive growth. The extra resources have been a boon to my ministry. It would be great if we followed up on this focus during our next term. Let's take a deep dive into the details now. Please turn to page 5. Let's start off with our economic plan. I'm glad to say that we are on track with our intentions for a planned economy. Most of our decisions so far have been pretty consistent. We need to keep at it and make sure we follow through. Of course, that's what I'm here for. Let's move on with the report. If I were to describe what we have done so far, I would say that it is very close to full command economic system. Please turn to page 16. I turn to page 16 titled Status of Trade and the Effects of Foreign Policy. I'm sad to say that our trade has decreased since the beginning of our term. Our economy has the potential to stagnate unless we open up further and chase after more trade deals. Having said that, the fact that we're now able to rely completely on our own economy is definitely a step in the right direction. First comes self-reliance, then everything else. True. We must look ahead now and see how we can expand into foreign economies. Now that we can stand on our own 2 feet, we can aim for more opportunities with foreign countries. We don't need any foreign countries controlling us through our economy. We should maintain our self-reliance. I don't think we're going to get any trade deals with anyone, but we'll go with this one. I don't think Anton's making any friends in the international community here. We'll have to carefully consider this matter during our second term. Please turn to page 17. In our attempt to repair Sordland's economic system, we went for a mixed approach. We tried to cater to the needs of both business and Sordish citizens, and a delicate balance. Bad news is our living standards are decreasing. We've been receiving more and more complaints about our welfare system. That's not good, not for them, and certainly not for our election prospects. Exactly. Some of our industries have also been knocked down to their knees by our recent taxations. The demand for these goods has decreased drastically, which led to businesses in these industries being shut down. Some people are calling the government out for infringing on their personal liberty. Apparently, some even filed lawsuits saying the taxes violate their human dignity. Well, I tax luxury goods and booze. So I don't know what that has to do with human dignity. Except to bane Richie Riches and alcoholics. Their lawyers argued for them that they need it for mental health treatment. I'll turn to page 34. Production in our country has nearly doubled since the start of our administration. It's a great success. Let's not forget about the sacrifices we had to make to achieve this. It's not enough. We need triple, quadruple. Yes, quadruple. Maybe even more than that. I love it. I understand the excitement. As much as I would like production to increase even further, we need to take it one step at a time. Move on to logistics. We have an infrastructure problem, and the economy won't truly flourish unless we solve it. We need to make new roads and improve the existing ones. People and businesses alike have been complaining. Smoother commutes, easier access, and faster delivery times would help everyone out. We're very close to the end. I want to talk about a few numbers. Please turn to page 57. Our inflation rate is currently at an amazing 2%, down from 7%. That's great. Wish our inflation would get down that low. It would be fantastic. It's the lowest Sordland's ever seen. Good job, Rayne train. Swedish Ren's value has been largely maintained and consumer prices have been stabilized. Low prices mean happy people. We need all the help we can get for the election. Writing history here. Agreed. Mr. President, do you have any questions so far? Oh. Let's just go through them. Our debt is at 428 billion Swedish Ren, so close to 427 billion Swedish Ren at the beginning of our term. Okay. Basically, it hasn't budged from when we started. I would still consider this as a success, as we inherited a recession. We essentially prevented an economic collapse. How about unemployment? The unemployment rate remains steady at 16%. The change is mostly due to our lack of investments and economic planning. About our GDP. Current GDP is 314 billion Swedish Ren. Not much more than the 310 billion Swedish Ren we had at the beginning of our term. As per the latest stats, the economy has remained at a similar level over the last 4 years. In short, our economic capacity has not changed much at all. And that's all the questions I have. Very well. I want to quickly highlight our budget expenditures. My numbers indicate that overall we have been fairly balanced in spending our government budget. A balanced approach is good, however, we shouldn't forget that money that is not spent is just pieces of paper. Now, going into the elections and hopefully a second term, we need to decide on the way forward. One thing is clear, we need a bigger budget. But we don't have a budget, though. Couldn't start our next term with a budget deficit. What should we do, Mr. President? Any ideas? You are the economic guru. Print more money. I'm not taking a loan. I'll just print more money. That'll work wonders for the inflation. But it'll give us a positive cash flow there. This will pose quite a risk to our economy, but it can be done. I'll get right on it after this meeting. Now that's out of the way. During our first term, we have faced many challenges in the midst of a recession. We have worked hard to fight against the odds, but we couldn't accomplish much. You may have surmised from the data I've given you that we have not yet been able to end the recession. Really? All the blame falls on your shoulders as the Ministry of Economy, Simon. You will resign before the next term. We've done all we could. Now it's time to look to the future and try to fix our mistakes. I'm not going to blame him. Even if I am an asshole, I'm not going to blame him. Some things can't be undone, but for the economy at least, there's still hope. We'll get through this together. That's all for our meeting today. Thank you for coming. Meeting dispersed, I hurried to the cafeteria to get a cup of coffee. All right, well, it went down. Yeah. A lot to do. right, what do we have here? Let's read the newspaper here. President's son at the front lines. Wow. Frank Rayne, President Rayne's eldest son, is reportedly stationed at Sordland's border with Rumberg. The Rumberg threat has been ongoing for some time now and continues to escalate. The president's own son defending our nation is a great honor. Frank Rayne is an inspiration and role model for young men and boys across the country. All right. On that note, I am going to call this episode to a close here. We spent some money, but it seems like our re-election chances are not as bad off as they were. Our economy bumped up to right here and then went back down, assuming that has to do with the printing of more money, and we now have a budget that's in the green. So, my wife's divorcing me, by the way, but that's for the next episode. We'll figure that one out. Anyway, if you like the episode, hit the like button. If you have any thoughts on the game, tips, advice, leave those in the comment section down below. If you want to follow along through Sordland, Suzerain, the douchebag playthrough, hit the subscribe, and you can come along with us, and we will see you for our next episode. A76NY saying thank you very much for watching, and have yourself a very good day.